We're back, y'all. How's it feel, Brother Ash, to be back?
Feeling good. It's feeling good.
Thanks for your patience as we took a bit of hiatus, but we are back with today's episode. We're talking all about the 2024 documentary, Megan Thee Stallion, In Her Words. It's available on Amazon Prime Video, and it was definitely a watch-worthy documentary. If you were in tune to the whole Megan versus Tory thing in 2020, we're gonna get all into that because the documentary primarily focused on that.
Word.
It did, talk a little bit about her upbringing and her relationship with her parents, and then it talked about how she got into rap, but it predominantly focused on 2020 to present. So definitely check this out if you're a Megan Thee Stallion fan, or even if you're not, if you want a better understanding of her. That's why I love to watch documentaries and biographies like this, to hear that person's side of the story. So that's why they titled it In Her Words, because other people have said so much about her.
Exactly.
And so now she got to finally tell her story.
This was very informative for somebody like me who wasn't keeping up with all of this stuff that's been going on with Meg Thee Stallion. Like, I'm a fan and I know what's been going on, but I wasn't following it closely.
I was not looking into the tabloids and all that.
I will say this documentary is a good source of, obviously it's her side of, her situations, but it's also actual, legal evidence stuff that they're sharing. So if you want to know some real information, this is something to look into. And plus, it was dope to get to know more about Meg Thee Stallion as an artist and as a person.
Absolutely. And so viewer discretion is advised for this documentary. We're going to be talking about domestic violence and suicide ideation as well. But there were some pretty cool features in the documentary. You see who Megan's tight-knit circle is, because these are the only people who were really featured in the documentary. You had her manager, T. Ferris. You have choreography, Lorianne Gibson. You have stylist Law Roach. So these are some people close to her circle, or at least behind the scenes. It seems like she works with them, has a working relationship with them.
Word. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick stuff off. First things first, like, we got to dive into Meg Thee Stallion as Megan Pete, who she was as a kid. She grew up with her mom predominantly and her grandma, but she kind of was a little bit of an outcast, being so tall.
Red flag. Why are kids so mean?
I remember both of my siblings were really tall growing up, and they didn't like being tall. I was pretty much average height, but my sister particularly, she hated being taller than boys in her class.
It's hard for a
So
girl.
she said early that Meg Thee Stallion is always, a protector to Megan Pete, which I thought was interesting. She grew up around strong black women who always, gave her confidence, gave her compliments and stuff. Her grandma, her mom were always, pouring into her. And her dad, unfortunately, was in jail for like the first 7, 8, maybe not the first, but 7 to 8 years of her life.
Yeah.
Her dad was in jail. And he got out. They spent time together. She was definitely a bit of a daddy's girl.
Right.
She loved being around her pops. But unfortunately, like, he, passed away when she was in the 9th grade. And I just want to say a red flag to start all of this stuff off. Not a red flag to him passing away, but just the fact of how much grief Meg Thee Stallion has had to endure.
Right.
And most of this stuff was happening when she was like 24, but she's probably like, what, maybe 27
She's 29 now. She's
29.
like my age. Yeah.
Okay, so like, she has already lost so many like people, and it's just kind of like, if you ever lost somebody, you know what that does to you. So she was in the 9th grade when she lost her pops. So that was very sad to hear. So she and her mom never really talked about it a lot, though.
Red flag. We gotta at least discuss grief as a family, y'all. Even if you don't go to a therapist, at least be able to talk about it with your loved ones. Like, we lost Pops. We lost him. Like, we could talk about it.
Grief is hard in the family because you don't know, like, certain things you might want to grieve about can trigger other people.
Yeah.
Because y'all all love this person. So, like, a lot of times families just be scared to talk about stuff openly because you like, damn, like, what if I bring this up and such start crying or goes to a dark place. So Megan was like, always into rap. You know what I'm saying? Like, her mom used to put on freestyles and stuff and rap to him as a kid.
That's so dope.
I thought that shit was dope, man. Like, for her to be a rapper and like she just always wanted to be like her mom.
Yeah.
I thought that was fire. She always wanted to impress her mom. That was like her bestie. Everything that she did, she kind of was like comparing it like, oh, will my mom do this? Or You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and I remember like she said that, you know, one of her first popping YouTube videos, she showed her mom, and her mom was just like, "Oh my God," like
Her mom was like, "You're not twerking enough." I'm like, that reminds me of my relationship with my mom as far as being able to share every little thing. Like she said she
word.
was her videographer. She was telling her what
Yeah,
caption to put
yeah,
on
yeah,
Instagram.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
So that was dope. So yeah, so Meg was a hard worker from the beginning. I got to see like what her life was like a day in the life of Meg Thee Stallion in this documentary.
right.
This girl is cut different, yo. And she was like working every night before she got on, like performing at clubs. She said, wherever I could perform, I was there. Open
Yeah.
mics, colleges, didn't matter. If they had a mic for me, I was pulling up. So yeah. So Big Old Freak, that was like a song that basically
Big old freak.
skyrocketed her career.
Big booty, big old
Uh,
treat.
I that song was out before I met Miss Chris D, but I know you was out there fucking it up.
I'll tell you, I discovered her like on Twitter. I saw that video and I was like, oh my God, like this is a new rap girl on the scene. Cause
Yeah.
at the time, babe, 2018, it was like Nicki and Cardi
And you know what?
and City Girls.
I
So for
remember.
Megan, like they all kind of burst on the scene at the same time.
Yeah, I remember because that's when Cardi was like on top of the world.
Yeah. But
Bodak
she had
Yellow.
like exactly, she had just, Cardi had just beat Meg by like a
Yeah.
couple years, like as far as timeline.
And then Meg Thee Stallion came out, and her beats always have been dope to me,
Hmm.
mainly. And then I feel like her rapping has like grown and gotten better and better over
Definitely. I
time.
can see her
But she's
progression.
always had a classic Southern Houston flow, and I've
Yeah.
always loved Houston rap, and I think that's why I always liked her music for real. But see, she said that in this period of time, she was at her happiest. She had her mom. They was taking the rap game by storm.
Yeah.
They did everything together. And times was just good in that moment. That was a special time for her. So in March 2019, her mom unfortunately got a brain tumor,
Wow.
and she got the news. She went to the hospital, and it was one of those things where she wasn't able to recover from. She had a series of seizures in the
Yeah.
hospital, and unfortunately, like at the age of 24, Meg had to make a really hard decision about her mother's health and how comfortable she would be, and her mother ended up passing away.
That's
So
so sad. Red flag because
yeah,
this is at the height of everything taking off for her. So you've only been in the game seriously for like a few months and now you're losing your mom.
yeah.
So as a fan, I was like following Megan along for the journey and I didn't realize how early into it she had lost her mom. So to lose now you have both your parents gone.
So she lost her mom. We talked about her dad passing, and this was like we just mentioned, stuff is starting to
She
take
also lost
off,
her grandma somewhere in there.
and she never stopped working.
Yeah.
Red flag,
Red flag for that.
red flag,
You
because
gotta take time to yourself.
it comes a point where if you don't take time, time takes you.
Yeah, your body will make you
And you
rest.
don't even it don't matter if it's a good time for you, it don't matter what's going on. Your body will make you rest, your mind will make you rest if
Yeah.
you don't make that time for yourself. So she didn't cancel none of her shows. She wanted to be strong. She didn't want to be seen as weak, crying, and
I hate that.
and she also felt like her mom will want her to keep going as well.
That's what people normally say. Like, oh,
Yeah.
my mom would want me to be strong.
But she also did lose some confidence without her mom by her side because
That was her
yeah,
cheerleader.
that
That
was
was
her
literally her
confidant. That was
person.
her person that she wanted to call after everything to let her know what was going on. So she lost confidence in some of those conversations that she was having with people concerning her
Yeah.
career because she didn't have her mom to shoot the idea by real quick.
And
And
I don't know if this is around the time that she was going through this grief, but I will say early on, I did not like her outfits. I did not like her styling. So those were things that her mom took care of. I will
mm,
say. So
so I also feel like with this, this is like, the music industry is like kind of cutthroat. And if you're vulnerable like this, it's easy for you to end up around people and like get into deals and business relationships with people where
and she did, and she
they
was in
yeah,
the.
they
They didn't
know
talk about that in the
exactly. They
documentary.
know that you grieving your mom, and you know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, we ain't gonna get into it. We ain't gonna get into it. But it was just very unfortunate for her for all this stuff to be happening at one time.
Yeah.
So she said that she didn't know like who she was without her mom. She was only 24. And she was doing stuff, she was getting awards at the BET Awards,
So
VMAs,
imagine you're getting
like
VMAs, but your mom and dad aren't there. Like,
so it became like kind of like a perfect, I guess amount of, turmoil in her life to breed something really good and something that would propel her.
Yeah.
2020 comes up and Savage takes over the fucking
Not only
world.
Savage, but the remix
I
too. Like
remember,
for
yeah.
your original song to do good, and then for you to get a remix with Beyonce,
Yeah.
like it was just
The remix with
amazing.
Beyonce was, the remix with Beyonce.
Queen
But
bee, wanna smoke
I'ma
with
give
me.
Meg her flowers. That shit was a hit before Beyonce got on.
Exactly,
Yes,
yeah.
Beyonce definitely like, it was like I
The
said, it's a
song Savage
Beyonce
was good
feature.
in itself, yeah.
But I knew like I worked with, like teenagers at the time. They was like Meg was like
Yeah.
Lil Kim to them. You feel
Yeah.
me? And it was respected. You feel me? So I remember all of that happening. So around this time, Meg's best friend since 2013, Kelsey, became her assistant, and she basically stepped into her mother's role. And at first, it made sense because that's her friend. She knew her mom. Apparently, they all had a good relationship.
And
So
spoiler alert, y'all know what happens with Kelsey.
I
So
didn't know.
I to see the beginning of their relationship and see how they were besties and they have old
Yeah,
footage of them in the documentary hanging out in hotel rooms,
I
and her
didn't
being there
know.
for her.
I didn't know, but
Ugh.
not for long. Because as soon as she started like being shown in a documentary, you start giving that look like, oh, there go
Yeah.
that fake.
I was like, ugh, Kelsey.
So, they was young and on top of the world. So they was like, going out, drinking a lot. This is when the
It's
term
2020.
"we outside"
Yeah.
kind of got like,
Megan literally coined that term.
yeah,
Like,
driving the boat and shit. Y'all know it was a
ooh, what
time.
a time.
It was a time.
No, I'm just saying, babe, we were together at that time. It was 2020. We was in the house. That was my
Nah, for
25th
real
birthday
though,
when I
for
turned
real
up on
though.
Instagram Live.
You
That was Drive the Boat.
I
That
just looked
was
at you like that because you sound like that TikTok. Oh, we had a time last night. I forgot I was there. All right,
well,
yeah.
yes.
We
Megan definitely. Remember, it was Hot Girl Summer. It was
word,
yes.
word. So she ended up linking up with this guy. I don't know if y'all heard of him. Tory Lanez. Y'all
Yeah.
ever heard Tory Lanez?
Let
Yeah.
me say this. During the pandemic, during 2020, Tory Lanez actually was on people's good side. He's the one who kind of started the Instagram Live concerts.
Yeah, I do remember
He
that. I
literally,
remember
it was
that.
like early days. So I was like, oh, cool, Tory Lanez. Like people
Well,
actually liked him.
let
And
me
then
let
it
me
went
let me
bad.
let me set the record straight. Tory Lanez is very like talented. His music is fire. Like I would definitely say like his early shit, like I listened to a lot of it. It was on a lot of my playlists. Like Tory Lanez was definitely that boy. Meg is kind of peaking, like skyrocketing up. And Tory Lanez is already pretty, respected in music for real.
And I
Like
will
it's videos of like Diddy giving him his flowers, like him, like a bunch of niggas in the industry like giving him respect, basically. Like,
And I will say, I was totally a fan of Tory Lanez before all of this happened. It was hard for me to cancel him, but I did because I sided with Megan, and we're gonna get into Brother Ash doesn't
yeah.
think it's a Megan versus Tory situation. So let's get into it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's yeah. So that's not what I said. But anyway,
Well, we're gonna get into
yeah.
it.
You gonna have me out here arguing with y'all in the comments and shit.
No, no.
So July, I'm not though. I promise you, it will never be me. July 12th, 2020, the night of the shooting, Meg was arguing with Kelsey in the car. And Tory was in the car as well, and there was a driver.
The
So
driver is a
Tory,
witness. Why didn't he come forward?
so
They
come
say
on.
they couldn't find him actually.
Nigga, what's the rule in the black community?
Mm.
No snitching. All right, so now we got that out the way.
That's terrible.
So
Red flag.
a flag at red at no snitching.
Yeah.
So it's 4 people in the car. Driver, Meg apparently was in the front seat. She the tallest, so
What's that mean?
Tory Lanez don't need the front seat. Tory, get your ass.
Well,
in
this
the
no.
back.
So this is the part of the documentary that kind of
that nigga to get in the back of the car.
he's in his little car seat.
all right.
But this is the part of the documentary where you're kind of getting like a new look at the relationship, right? I didn't know it was a love triangle.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
Yeah.
So apparently Tory was,
smashing Kelsey first, and maybe Megan just had a drunk. She said it was like 1 or 2 drunken nights.
Yeah, I mean, J. Cole said, "Y'all multiply those situations by 3."
Okay.
That's neither here or there. That don't matter. That doesn't matter to what actually happens. So basically, she got out the car. Meg is out the car. She's in a swimsuit. Apparently, there was at some
red
sort of
flag.
okay,
Meg.
babe.
Cause we gotta at least have on some shoes or a jacket or something. She was out here in a
She
bikini.
was outside. That's
She's a
how she
celebrity in a
Meg Thee
bikini.
Stallion.
Yeah,
She wanna
yeah.
be in a bikini. Sucks to suck what happened and you was in a bikini. But like,
That's what yeah, I hate to see
yeah.
that this happened while she was wearing a bikini.
So George Floyd, this is around the time where all that like, that was going
2020.
on. Um, so long story short, Meg is out the car once. Tory says, get back in the car. She gets back in the fucking car. They arguing and shit. She gets out the car again. He like, get back in the car. Meg not hearing it. She's walking, she's walking, she's walking. Meg says that this nigga got out the car, shot her, and was like, dance, bitch, dance, some shit like that, which is a real thing.
Red
I don't
flag
want
for
y'all to
that.
think that that's not a real thing. Like, that's pimp culture. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like, that's something that people do. And given the fact that he might have been smashing her and her homegirl,
It went to his head
it
thinking he was a
seems
little
like
pimp.
something that could have happened that night. You know what I'm saying? So she just like, I felt so dumb, right? Because all of this is happening. The cops come up, right? And she like, I don't want to tell them that he shot me because I don't want them to shoot this fucking nigga in the middle of the street. Like, with all this stuff going on with George Floyd and the police brutality,
Red flag.
she's thinking about all of this as she's on the ground crawling with, blood on her foot.
So guys, the documentary had animations of all of this,
Shout out to the animators
Yeah,
too. It
the
was fire.
animation looked really great and they basically depicted, what Megan told us. So just to clarify that.
So she thinking like, I should have known that this dude was a weirdo. Her dad famously said to her, this was one of his famous quotes: everything that grin ain't your friend. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So now she's thinking like, fuck, like it was probably with so many red flags and me hanging out and knowing that, whatever was going on.
That sucks
So
though. That
while she was
sucks.
in the whole time though, now Meg is in the hospital. They like, yo, is bullet fragments in your feet? Cause
She lied all the way to the
cops,
hospital.
she told the cops that she stepped on glass. She didn't want Tory Lanez to get, brought up on charges and shit. Just a little nugget. She ain't press charges on Tory Lanez.
Yeah.
That wasn't her. So turns out she's in the hospital. Her friend Kelsey, right, bailed out Tory Lanez and was secretly meeting with him while all of this is happening.
Red flag.
That's a red
Red
flag for
flag.
me. Cause I'm like,
Ugh, that makes me so mad. Somebody that you genuinely thought was your best friend, you're like, yo, I'm in the hospital. Where you at? Oh, I'm hanging with Tori. The nigga that just shot me? Like, you're really showing yourself. You're
so
really showing your cards.
y'all have to remember, y'all have to put everything in context because it matters. This is why we can't just say stuff on the internet without knowing shit. Feel me? This woman just lost her confidant, the person that talks to her. How many of y'all knew exactly what to do in a hard situation when you was 24 years old?
Yeah.
None of y'all, right? So her confidant was gone, right? She don't have nobody in her corner. Her only close friend is meeting with this nigga secretly, and she probably didn't even know at the time.
Right. She literally
So
was feeling like bamboozled.
Meg was probably not probably, she was overwhelmed with all of this, so she just wanted it to go away. That's why she started performing again. It's not the first time she started performing and working through her
That's
pain.
why I literally hate when people are like, put a red flag for the people who was like, oh, well, you still performing, so you must not be that hurt.
Bruh, I knew somebody a woman that said, I got shot in the foot and I was out for like 2 months or whatever. How she already performing and twerking. Bruh, he shot at the ground and the fragments of the bullet is what injured her. So her recovery time may not have been, like
It was
actually,
exactly 6 weeks to be
people
exact.
thinking
It
like
was
he
6
stood up
weeks.
over her and like, shot her in the foot like that. But to me, it's just crazy for people to be saying all of that and not knowing why shit happened. It's not that she was trying to make it something that it wasn't. It's just she wanted to get back to it, sweep it under the rug because she didn't even want him getting in trouble. She just wanted the situation to go away
And that's
quietly.
how people
And
deal with
I get
trauma.
that. I can see that being a realistic thing somebody wants to do. That's respect.
Yeah.
Word.
So again, like you said, Brother Ash, for every terrible thing that's happened to Megan, a good one happens. In 2020, WAP came out, and that had the patriarchy shook. Everybody was shook that year. Like,
That's life
red
though.
flag.
That's life though.
Why are men mad that we're singing about pussies? Why are you still mad?
I was saying this life that, the lows and highs, like don't
Oh.
get too low, don't get too high. But I don't think that men are mad. I think that, well, no, I do think men are mad, but I think it's more so an intimidation thing. and I don't know why. Like, cause I know rappers was talking about it, and they like, like, but some of the same rappers that was saying shit talk about pussy all the
Yeah,
time.
I've heard some very vulgar
Like,
rap lyrics from
if
men
if
about women's coochies.
if Donnie McClurkin got something to say about Meg Thee Stallion, I'm gonna understand. Like, but
Not Future.
yeah, like, come on, bro. Like, it's like to me, I don't know.
It really just blew my mind because it was 2020. We had people like Foxy Brown and Lil Kim sing about their pussies before too. So
And
like
they had
it's
a
been
hard
30
time
years. Why are
too.
you still mad?
Yeah. It's always been hard for women to talk about their bodies in hip hop, but you always
Thank
see
you.
women's bodies in hip hop.
Thank you. So let's call a spade a spade. Is you're mad because of the gender. It's misogyny.
You're mad because the woman took control of it.
Yeah.
It'd be different if Tory would have came out about a song called Wet Ass Pussy and it was about Meg Thee Stallion,
Right.
y'all niggas would have loved it.
It would have ate that up. I still love the song WAP. I love me the rap girlie. Shout out
Look,
to Cardi. Shout out to Megan.
I like what that type of music do to my girl. So I'm
Okay.
all for it. Liberate them.
but but again, this is something great going on for Megan. But then by October 2020, like Brother Ash said, she didn't press charges. The state of California pressed charges against Tory Lanez, and that's when everyone started to turn against Megan. Red flag,
Red
because
flag.
y'all was acting despicable on social media.
Y'all was wildin', bro.
You should have
Y'all was wildin'.
you missed her head. You should have shot her head instead of her feet. Oh, you
So
should have aimed a little higher.
disrespectful.
She deserved it. Tall donkey stallion. Like what? What does her have to be tall have to do with this?
Why do tall women have to die? What's wrong with y'all?
It was terrible.
That's so wicked.
It was so
But
terrible.
it's really just for likes, though.
That it was so disgusting to see people, especially women, feed into the narrative on social
Yeah.
media like some bunch of pick me's. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
That was just terrible to see. And that's why I'm glad we're doing this episode now to speak about it because it's all out and we already know the outcome. And so I'm just like, how do y'all feel now? Looking back at this documentary, seeing this girl cry over people talk about her on social media, people don't deserve that, man. So everyone was basically trying to dissect her story. Like we said earlier, oh, we think Megan lying about this part. We think she lying about that part. Why can't we just believe a black woman? Believe
Yeah.
black women the first time. We saw with Cassie. Just believe them.
And also, y'all niggas gotta stop making it seem like every black man that get arrested for doing something is some type of martyr of the cause of righteous black men.
Right.
Bro,
No, maybe you're just a bad person.
if you shoot somebody in the foot, whether it's on accident or not,
right.
that's illegal.
That's why I need people to understand. For me, this really comes down to firearms, gun control.
What the fuck
you
are we
shouldn't
talking
be able
about?
to easily just pull out your weapon and start shooting your friend.
I don't understand. Like,
because,
what?
oh, I'm a little drunk and I have a loaded weapon. Like, no.
It's videos, not videos. It's audio recordings of him calling her the next day. Like, yo, like, you know, I would never do that.
I was so drunk.
I was so drunk. I'm like,
No.
bro, like,
No, you're digging yourself in a deeper hole because if that's your first instinct when somebody gets under your skin, when you get a little mad to pull out a gun.
they really tried to make it seem like Tory Lanez was like representing all black men.
Ugh. And we saw in the documentary
that was unjustly prosecuted or, you know what I'm saying, indicted.
Yes.
Like, no, bro.
We saw in the documentary the celebrities that backed him, and they don't have great track records either. So, the worst part about this whole thing, red flag for me, is that Kelsey never spoke up for Megan because she was mad Megan had sex with Tory.
She took that money and shut the fuck up.
Like what?
Or whatever.
You
she
were a
took
witness
from him.
to a shooting.